He realizes that they know him and reveals that he's lost his memory. Eun-nam gives him a phone and tells him she'll call. But Hui-cheol sends Dongju's location to Guho. Guho tells Yeom Jang-seon. Guho goes to the suit shop and sees Dongju exiting. But when the saleswoman calls him back inside. Meanwhile, Chairman Cha's doctors tell him that he has a condition where his brain is shrinking. When Guho's colleague looked for Dongju inside the shop again, he's gone. He's eating at a restaurant where coincidentally Chairman Cha is dining with Du-soo, the head of neurosurgery and also Cha's son-in-law. Dongju leaves, but the restaurant owner recognizes him and informs Chairman Cha, who runs out looking for him. Dongju gets a call from Eun-nam, who tells him his real name and identity. She gives him an address and tells him to be there that night. Dongju recalls what the saleswoman told him, that he was planning on going on a trip with his bride, whom she suspects to be Eun-nam. After that, he had asked her to show him a different exit just to be careful. By this time, Guho has found Dongju sitting on a bench in a park. Once again, they can't approach him because Chairman Cha turns up. Cha is shocked to realize that Dongju has lost his memory. But Dongju spots Guho and his colleagues looking suspicious and makes a run for it instead. A flashback shows Eun-nam trying to commit suicide because she believes Deok-hui had Il-du kill Eun-nam's father, Sun-ho. Deok-hui tells her it's not true, but Eun-nam accuses Deok-hui of sending her to the US because she had remembered this. At present, Eun-nam asks Deok-hui for the phone she uses to speak with Dongju. Deok-hui says the phone is with Il-du. Il-du readily gives Eun-nam the phone. It also happens to be Hui-cheol's birthday, and Chairman Cha has organized a meal for Hui-cheol. Chairman Cha comes home and seems to have forgotten about this, and there's an awkward moment when he remembers why Hui-cheol is here. Il-du tells Jang-seon that Eun-nam has told Dongju to come to the house later that night. Elsewhere, we see that Dongju recognized Il-du as the man who shot him when he was saving him from drowning. At present, he goes to the Cha house and Eun-nam opens the gate for him. He greets the family and introduces himself as Song Hyen, which startles Secretary Gong and causes her to drop Hui-cheol's birthday cake. The chairman calls Dongju aside, and before leaving, Dongju gives Eun-nam her cell phone back. Dongju, Chairman Cha, Il-du, and Du-soo talk in Cha's office. Dongju admits that fragments of memories are coming back. Cha tells Dongju to get admitted in the hospital immediately, and he agrees. Later, Deok-hui checks on Secretary Gong and asks if the name Song Hyen startled her. Gong says that many people have that name, and Deok-hui agrees. She also points out that that child is dead. In the hospital, Yeom Jang-seon visits Dongju, who is immediately suspicious of him. Chairman Cha and Dr. Kong, Dongju, and also Cha's doctor, arrive as well. Dr. Kong realizes something is off and tells both the men to leave, saying that Dongju has restricted visitation. Dr. Kong then tells Dongju he will go through a psychiatric evaluation soon. Guho picks up Jang-seon, and we learn that he placed a bug in the hospital room, and they can now hear everything. Eun-nam goes to Dongju's house and finds the photograph of him with Sister Agnes. Eun-nam visits her at the church and tells her what's happened. Sister Agnes says that Dongju lost his memory once before as a child. She also seems to recognize the name Song Hyen. Eun-nam thinks it might help Dongju if Sister Agnes visits him. At the hospital, Dr. Kong notices Dongju's bullet wounds, but he says he doesn't remember how he got them. A staff member comes by to take Dongju for a test, but it turns out to be one of Guho's men. He sedates Dongju and takes him out of the hospital. Luckily, Dr. Kong soon realizes that something is amiss. Dongju ends up in Yeom Jang-seon's torture chamber. Jang-seon's men waterboard him, while Jang-seon tells him to stop pretending that he's lost his memory. As Dongju is being tortured, we see that in the hospital, Il-du, Eun-nam, and the others grow concerned and discuss how to find Dongju. Du-soo says they can't tell the chairman because the shock wouldn't be good for his health. Jang-seon's contact tells him that Dongju might not be faking the memory loss. Eun-nam drops Sister Agnes back at her church. Agnes tells her that Song Hyen was Dongju's name when he was little, but he forgot about it as he grew up. At the hospital, the chairman realizes Dongju is missing. Dongju's torture continues until he suddenly stops responding. The two men torturing him untie his hands, and Dongju uses the opportunity to fight back and knock them out. The man sitting outside, Jang-seon's contact, tries to knock Dongju out again, but this time he's saved by none other than Il-du. Dongju asks to be taken to the chairman, and Il-du does, but Jang-seon is there as well. Jang-seon, in fact, takes credit for finding Dongju and pretends someone else is behind it all. When the chairman talks about involving the police, Il-du says he noticed a gunshot wound on Dongju's body. He doesn't realize that Dongju remembers that Il-du shot him. Dongju himself says he doesn't want law enforcement involved. The chairman then insists that Dongju stay at his house. Jang-seon and Il-du speak separately. Il-do describes how Jiang Xian could lose the money if the chairman finds out that the account password is really in Dongju's mind. Il-do uses this leverage to make Jiang Xian agree to give him a part of the 2 trillion won. Jiang Xian agrees to give 10%, but tells Il-do to get his hands on the password first. Meanwhile, the Cha household chef, J-Pill, gets Dongju his food. He's followed by Secretary Gong, who brings him the raw egg drink that Dongju and Chairman Cha used to have together. Dongju asks her if the name Song Hyen surprised her, and she lies, saying it didn't. When he mentions his dream of the car accident, Secretary Gong looks even more anxious. Later that night, Dongju wakes up with a start. Unable to sleep, Dongju uses the pull-up bar that Il-do generally uses. Il-do is unable to sleep as well and finds Dongju there. Il-do eventually tells him to leave, and Dongju suddenly asks if Il-do shot him. Il-do says he's got things mixed up, and Dongju seems to agree. He goes back to his room. Il-do follows with a large dumbbell in his hand, but he's interrupted by Dia Kui, who is bringing his morning herbal tonic. Il-do then calls Dongju and says he has a way of fixing his memory. Il-do takes Dongju to Dr. Kong I-Hyen's house. Her father is Il-do's friend. I-Hyen agrees to help Dongju remember his memories. Later, Il-do drives his friend, I-Hyen's father, somewhere, and he talks about how he misses the days they used to spend together. Him, Il-do, Dia Kui, and Sunho, Unam's father. During a session with Dr. I-Hyen, Dongju recalls being driven in a car. He remembers a man driving the car and a small girl in the back seat. Elsewhere, Jiang Xian speaks with a politician and pretends he still has access to the National Patriotic Fund. Il-do calls and tells him about the hypnotherapy. Jiang Xian then tells Unam he wants to speak with her. Dongju suddenly wakes up from his hypnotherapy session, screaming. After he's calmed down, I-Hyen asks Dongju if he would like to meet his sister. Unam picks him up, and on the drive, Dongju notices their matching tattoos. They arrive at a meeting spot, and Sister Agnes is crossing the road when a truck rushes in and slams into her. The shock is immense, and all of Dongju's memories come rushing back. Jiang Xian's internal monologue reveals that he planned the attack in order to shock Dongju's mind and bring the memories back. We are at Sister Agnes' funeral, where Jiang Xian is also present and tells Dongju they will have the truck driver arrested immediately. We see that the truck driver is none other than Yang Chun, one of the men working for the administrator, Jiang Xian's contact, who tortured Dongju. A woman greets Dongju at the funeral, but he doesn't recognize her. Someone tells Jiang Xian that she is Madame Pai, who raised Dongju and Sister Agnes. A flashback shows Dongju and Huiqiol during their school days. They are both brought to the principal's office. Dongju had gotten involved in a fight, trying to protect younger boys from Huiqiol, but now they blame Dongju of starting the fight. Huiqiol's father comes by as well, and Dongju rightfully accuses him of paying the other students off to frame Dongju instead. Jiang Xian is there during this incident as well. Another flashback to 8 years ago shows Jiang Xian looking at photos of Dongju working for Daisen Energy. He says Dongju messed with the accounting records of the company and seems keen on taking him down. At present, Madame Pai tells Dongju that his mother left him and Sister Agnes with her when they were kids. She grows distraught, and Dongju takes her to another room. Guho follows them. After some time, Madame Pai leaves the room and tells Dongju to sleep till mass begins. Meanwhile, Il-nam wears a nurse's uniform and enters the hospital. He gets Yang Chun to another room where Dongju is waiting to unleash all hell on him. Eventually, Yang Chun is tied up in the back of a van while Dongju rushes back to the church on a bike. Back at the church, Jiang Xian and Guho get the news of what's happened with Yang Chun. Since Dongju makes it to mass in time, they can't be sure he was involved. Later, Jiang Xian meets with a man hidden in shadows, who turns out to be Assemblyman Nam Sang-chol from episode 1. He says the elder wants control of the Patriotic Fund. Jiang Xian rushes off without replying, and we then see Dongju sneak out of a manhole and overhear the Assemblyman talking to someone. Jiang Xian meets with Il-do and tells him they need to sell Daisen Energy. The administrator calls Guho and tells him to remind Jiang Xian to find Yang Chun. Meanwhile, Dongju keeps ignoring Unam's calls. He goes to Chairman Cha's safe and begins stocking it with soja bottles. At that moment, the chairman comes in with Secretary Gong and asks her if she remembers a kid named Song Hyen, whom Unam's father had once brought home. She pretends not to remember. Dia Kui, Gukui, and Taeyun are just returning home when they spot Ji Xianyu outside their house. He asks for Dongju, and Dia Kui sends him away with an excuse. After Secretary Gong leaves the chairman's office, Dongju reveals himself to the chairman, and Il-do enters the room at the same time. Dongju pretends to have remembered only the safe code and nothing else. But Il-do observes that Dongju hides the soja bottle when Gukui enters the room. She tells the chairman that Yuzion Chemical is pulling out of the deal with Daisen Chemical. Il-do reveals that Jiang Xian wants them to sell Daysan energy, and the chairman realizes he needs to pay Jiang Xian to stop these antics. Dongju remembers the chairman had hidden the code to his safe in his pen stand. A quick flashback shows that Dongju had checked the pen stand earlier and found it empty. He then wrote the codes on a new piece of paper and put it inside. Dongju takes cash and gold to Jiang Xian, who encourages Dongju to keep trying to get his money back. When Dongju leaves, he leaves Yang Chun's ring on the chair. Jiang Xian and Guho confront Dongju, who grabs Guho's gun and holds it to Jiang Xian's head, still pretending not to know anything. He even threatens to kill himself, and Jiang Xian finally relents, saying it's a misunderstanding. Dongju then goes home and finally grieves his sister's death. Huichiol and Unnam arrive at the Cha household with food from her in-laws. Unnam goes to see Dongju, who is cold towards her and tells her that nothing good happens when they're together. He tells her to live her own life, but she then hugs him from behind. Suddenly, the phone in Dongju's room rings. We then see the family sit down for dinner. Everyone turns up but Unnam, who says she'll come for dessert. When the dessert trays arrive, Secretary Gong says that the honey cookies Unnam's in-laws sent have cinnamon in them. Dongju realizes this is Jiang Xian's test to see if he remembers he is allergic to cinnamon or not. Nevertheless, he eats the cookies. Dongju heads towards his room, but soon chokes and collapses. They call the emergency services, but as Dongju lays in Unnam's arms, he becomes unresponsive. We see a flashback of Jiang Xian telling Guho to prepare some cinnamon, enough to kill Dongju. He also meets Il-do and orders him to kill Dongju if he doesn't eat the cinnamon. At present, Dongju collapses after eating the cinnamon cookies. Dongju is rushed to the hospital, and Huichiol informs his aunt what happened. Dongju's chances of survival look slim, and Il-do conveys this to Jiang Xian. Jiang Xian reveals that he knows Dongju's real name is Chu Song-hyen. A short flashback shows Il-do arriving at Jiang Xian's house with Dongju in tow. Jiang Xian is irked at Dongju's presence, but Dongju hands him a letter from the chairman. It says that the chairman wouldn't fire Dongju on Jiang Xian's request, which is why he has sent a few gifts instead. Additionally, the chairman says he knows Il-do siphoned off funds from Daysan for Jiang Xian and agrees to overlook it. It's not entirely clear when this flashback takes place. At present, at the hospital, Chairman Cha shows signs of dementia again, and Il-do gets a confirmation from Du Su about his failing mind. Against Il-do's expectations, Dongju makes it through and survives. Madame Pai and Wonbei, Il-nam, arrive at the hospital. Wonbei gives Unnam Dongju's old phone and another small package, telling her to open it when she's alone. Unnam suspects Jiang Xian of having it out for Dongju. Back home, she sees the video of Dongju playing the violin on the boat on the phone Wonbei gave her. Inside the package is the bracelet which Dongju got fixed for Unnam. A flashback shows Dongju and Unnam out for a run when he sees the scar on her wrist and suggests getting matching tattoos on their wrists. They do so, and Unnam thanks him for putting an end to her embarrassment over the scar. Meanwhile, Gukui gets called to the prosecution for lobbying executives of Yuzian Chemical. Chairman Cha called Jiang Xian, who claims this is not his doing. After the phone call, Jiang Xian tells Guho that instead of focusing on the 2 trillion won in Dongju's head, he is going to focus on taking over Daysan. Unnam meets Huichiol for his lunch break and tells him they should get divorced, even if she has to give back the Daysan shares she received from her grandfather. Unnam then goes to the scene of Sister Agnes' death and gets CCTV footage from one of the nearby shopkeepers. In the footage, she finds Guho. She then looks at the video of Dongju and spots a boat in the background. She zooms in enough to see that it's Il-do. At that moment, Il-do enters the room and tells Unnam that there will be a hefty penalty for her breaking the prenup agreement with Huichiol and that she should go back to her in-laws. Meanwhile, Jiang Xian meets with a politician known as the Elder and tells him that they should put Il-do in charge of Daysan and use him. At Daysan, things are going a bit differently. Chairman Cha promotes Choi Ji-hyen as vice chairman of the company. This comes as a shock to Il-do. Chairman Cha tells Il-do to confront Jiang Xian head-on to make himself more valuable. Il-do then goes to Ji-hyen's office and tells him about Chairman Cha's failing health. He tells Ji-hyen to discuss all group matters with him going forward. Il-do then meets Unnam, who has returned to Huichiol's house. But she insists that she has a plan for getting the money for breaking the prenup. Inside, Huichiol tries to show Unnam some affection, but she says she still wants a divorce. Unnam points out that since Huichiol found out she was with Dongju, she went from being a woman to being a prize. After he leaves, Unnam sends the screenshots of Il-do and Guho from the videos she found to Jiang Xian. At Daysan, Cha Gukui tries to open the inner safe again, but the code she has doesn't work. Il-do catches her and learns she stole the codes quite a long time ago. He agrees to keep her visit a secret, and she storms off. He then compares the slip of paper she had with his own and realizes Dongju must have changed the code to a new one the day the chairman asked him to take out dollars for Jiang Xian. A quick flashback shows that Jiang Xian gave Il-Du a lethal injection. Jiang Xian then calls the administrator, who is still upset over the loss of Yongchan. Jiang Xian convinces him to take on a new mission and promises to take care of Yongchan's family. He then has Guho call Unnam and set up a dinner with her and Hui Chiol. Another flashback shows that she met Jiang Xian and offered the original photos in exchange for her divorce with Hui Chiol. At present, Unnam heads out for the dinner appointment, but someone follows her. At the hospital, one Bei leaves and another woman takes over looking after Dongju. The administrator arrives at the hospital and finds the woman asleep. He begins to put the injection into Dongju's IV, but Dongju wakes up and tackles him to the ground. Dongju turns around to seize Il-Du watching from outside the hospital room door.